Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. Another Southern California City Council member proposed her city to be an anti-abortion safe haven. She hopes her city will be a model to lead others. Election season is in the air, and that means politicians slinging mud back and forth. We'll hear what the governor had to say on several issues, ranging from immigrants to debates. And hundreds were arrested in a child sex abuse case over the week. We'll have the details on how authorities made the arrests. A councilwoman in a Southern California city called on fellow members to create an anti-abortion safe haven. This comes as the state is considering writing abortion laws into the Constitution. NTD's Daniel Hall reports.
In Temecula, a city about halfway between Los Angeles and San Diego, Councilwoman Jessica Alexander proposed an anti-abortion resolution during a Tuesday council meeting.
Let Temecula be known as a safe haven, not as an abortion sanctuary. Let the world know that Temecula stands for life, from womb to tomb.
She opposed Assembly Bill 1666 and Bill 2223 that were signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom this year. The latter was nicknamed the Infanticide Bill. With its signature, coroners no longer must investigate unborn deaths.
Let Temecula be the city that everyone wants to emulate because we choose every human being's safety to be our number one priority.
Alexander's proposal will be on the agenda for next month's City Council meeting. In nearby San Clemente, City Councilman Steve Knobloch proposed a similar measure last month, but the City Council voted 3-1 to remove it. California residents will vote on Proposition 1 in the coming midterm elections. If passed, it will amend abortion into the state's constitution. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
You know election season is in the air when politicians start taking pot shots at one another. In their ongoing saga of drama, the governors of California and Florida traded criticism of one another once again.
Following Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sending about 50 illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, Governor Gavin Newsom responded.
What Ron DeSantis is doing is a disgrace. It's almost monstrous, and I say that not lightly. I say that quite thoughtfully. He's got kids. I have kids. You saw those young girls with backpacks, no older than his children, my children, being used as political pawns, and now he's using it to fundraise, to raise money.
Newsom released a statement this week requesting that the Department of Justice investigate DeSantis for human trafficking crimes.
The governor of California sent a letter to the Department of Justice saying you need to prosecute Texas and Florida governors. And all I can say is I think his hair gel is interfering with his brain function.
The Biden administration later mobilized the National Guard to remove the illegal immigrants from the resort island, but DeSantis said more would be on the way.
I also was a little bit perplexed when I heard that the president is scrambling to get his cabinet together to try to address the fact that you have governors who are helping to relocate illegal aliens to sanctuary cities.
The New York Post previously reported that the Biden administration flew illegal immigrants from both Texas and Florida into New York to decrease loads at the southern borders. Many of the reported passengers were minors. Newsom additionally targeted Texas for its power situation.
Let's think about the state of Texas. The first 5 months of this year, talk about spewing. 22.9 million tons of coal they spewed in the first 5 months of this year, compared to California, 18,000 tons, 22.9 million tons. And they're talking to us about keeping our lights on?
His comments come after California weathered a major heat wave during which residents had to conserve electricity to keep from causing blackouts across the grid.
Speaking of the governor making comments, there will be a lot more from him in an upcoming debate. He agreed to face off in a debate against his Republican gubernatorial opponent.
During a press conference on Wednesday, Governor Gavin Newsom agreed to debate with Republican Senator Brian Dahle. Dahle serves one of the largest California Senate districts by land, covering much of the northeast of the state. Newsom said, "Happy to do it, and we'll do it just as we did the last time I ran for office, so I look forward to it." This comes as Newsom declined to debate during the recall last year. Over the weekend, Dahle challenged Newsom in a tweet to a debate.
Would you debate Newsom?
Anytime, any place.
He wrote that the debate could avoid topics like flex alerts, gas prices, and other controversial topics that the state has gone through in the last several years. But Dahle says he has one condition. He wants it televised, or at least have cameras. As of Friday, details for the gubernatorial debate, such as the time, location, moderator, and outlets, are still being worked on.
In Los Angeles, a student has passed away due to an overdose on campus. Officials believe the pills had fentanyl in them.
During a press conference on Thursday, the mayor and superintendent announced that a Bernstein High School student died of drug overdose.
On Tuesday, in our City of Angels, we lost a bright young angel who was the victim of a drug overdose taken from us way too soon in our city. There's no more tragic news that a parent, that a school community, that friends can hear than a teenager who has been taken from our city, her potential lost, her story here at an end.
Two students thought they were purchasing Percocet from a 15-year-old male. It happened on the school campus.
Both these victims, after they received the pill, went to a woman's bathroom where they crushed it, and we believe they snorted the powder as an effort to get the influence of the drug. Victim 2 later woke and found victim 1 unresponsive. She walked outside where she found her father, who was looking for her.
Moore said the time frame between the sale transaction to when the father found victim 2 happened between 12:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. The police and fire department were dispatched to the scene. Victim 1 was declared dead. Victim 2 was transported to the hospital and is expected to recover. They believe the pills were laced with fentanyl.
This is irreparable harm to our community. Every time a child dies, particularly as a result of a heinous, murderous act, the fabric of our community is destroyed. One child, one soul at a time. So it's not acceptable.
2 teen suspects have been arrested, a 15-year-old and 16-year-old. They went to an independent charter school adjacent to Bernstein High. Suspect 1 is being charged with manslaughter. Suspect 2 is being charged with the sale of narcotics at a nearby park. The investigation is ongoing.
A hacker broke into Uber's computer systems and shared evidence of the breach. Uber says it reached out to law enforcement about the incident on Thursday.
There was no indication that Uber's fleet of vehicles or its operation was in any way affected. An engineer that communicated with the hacker says source code and customer data were most likely compromised. It's believed the hacker was interested in gaining publicity and didn't do any damage to the system. The hacker alerted security researchers and engineers to the intrusion by using an internal Uber account to comment on security vulnerabilities. He then gave them a Telegram account address and engaged in a conversation where he shared screenshots to prove he broke in. Uber employees are working to lock down the system and restrict the hacker's access.
Authorities across Southern California have arrested 141 people during a week-long sting operation. Many of those arrested were for suspicions of possessing child sexual abuse material, probation violations, and sexual abuse of a minor.
According to the LA Times, a week-long operation headed by the Los Angeles Regional Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, or the ICAC, resulted in the arrest of 141 people suspected of online child sexual abuse. The ICAC is made up of over dozens of law enforcement agencies across the state of California. In a news conference on Wednesday, LAPD Captain Jeff Bratcher said that many predators will take advantage of online anonymity and target victims by infiltrating gaming, esports, and social media sites. Bratcher told the LA Times, "When we first started in 2004, we started LAPD's ICAC because we received 458 tips that year. In 2019, that number rose to 8,500. In 2020, 2021, both years we were over 24,000. This year so far, we're over 25,000, so we should end this year with over 36,000 cyber tips. He also stressed the importance of parents monitoring their children's online activity. During the operation, investigators said that they pursued new leads while also following up on people who had been arrested previously. This included a San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy and Dr. Gary Gullin, an ex-pediatrician at Cedars-Sinai Medical Hospital. He was charged with possessing over 600 sexually explicit images of children. Officials also remarked that the pandemic brought an astonishing increase of child sexual abuse reports. This was due to the stay-at-home orders and the closing of schools and youth activities that resulted in children spending more time online.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. In the fast food industry, there may be changes to labor standards coming. The governor signed a bill that establishes a fast food council of 10 members. Tesla plans to build large supercharger locations in California. They'll be capable of charging over 100 cars at once. And following the tragic shooting in Silicon Valley last year, the county gathered resources to help. Here's a look inside the VTA Wellness Center. That and more on California Today. Last week, the California governor signed a new law that would set labor standards for the fast food industry. Critics of the bill are calling this a case of background politics and have formed a coalition to block the law.
Assembly Bill 257, which was authored by Democrat Assemblyman Chris Holden, was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom just last week. The law will establish a fast food council consisting of 10 members. The council would include state representatives, worker delegates, and employer representatives who would set new minimum wages, hours, and working conditions for the industry's employees. Many opposers of the bill, which include the International Franchise Association, the National Restaurant Association, and many small businesses and organizations, formed a coalition to begin the first steps by filing a referendum to block the law. The coalition, also known as the Protect Neighborhood Restaurants, said that many restaurants and small businesses would be hit hard by wage increases. They also noted that many restaurants would be forced to shut down due to the industry still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, and supply chain disruptions. Protect Neighborhood Restaurants told the California Globe that, quote, as a result of backroom politicking, Governor Newsom has signed a lie into law and maligned all of California's quick-service small businesses and local franchises as bad employers. To delay AB 257, a petition would need to gather over 600,000 signatures. A statement regarding if the petition is accepted will be announced soon.
Elon Musk's company is building new superchargers throughout many locations in California. Along with this comes several enormous locations capable of charging 100 vehicles simultaneously. Tesla is currently building 4 large supercharger locations in California. According to the California-based media company Teslarati, Tesla received grants from the government with the requirements that the locations must support both Tesla and CCS charging. CCS stands for Combined Charging System, a common standard for North American and European manufactured vehicles. Tesla said that at least half of the chargers will have CCS capabilities. One supercharging station will grow out of an existing station in Baker. It will support over 100 vehicles to charge at the same time. Baker sits along I-15, the main route between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. The second spot is in Barstow with 100 stalls. It's not far from Baker at the intersection of I-15 and I-40. The other 2 are along I-5. On the southern stretch of the freeway, an existing station will expand in Coalinga, southwest of Fresno. It will support 164 charging stalls. Lastly, the 4th location will be a new facility with 100 stalls in the city of Willows, about halfway between Sacramento and Redding. The goal of its supercharger network is to allow freedom of travel for Tesla owners and have it cheaper than gasoline. Tesla already operates more than 35,000 superchargers worldwide, located on major routes. 15 minutes can recharge up to 200 miles. Earlier in September, the company asked Twitter users for suggested locations for new sites to be included in a future poll. A car crashed into a Bay Area grocery store. Authorities said there were minor to moderate injuries.
A 2005 gray Toyota Avalon crashed into a Trader Joe's in Castro Valley on Thursday at around 3:40 p.m. In a statement to NTD, CHP said a 90-year-old Hayward resident drove through the front door while attempting to park. 8 people were injured. 4 were transported to hospitals, including a Trader Joe's employee and a 5-year-old child. The other 4 people declined transportation to the hospital and received treatment on scene. The driver was uninjured. Authorities say neither drugs nor alcohol were reasons for the crash. The store was evacuated for safety, and people were asked to avoid the area.
After the tragic VTA rail yard shooting last year, Silicon Valley opened a wellness center for those affected. That's to help those struggling with mental health-related issues related to the stress of the incident. They hope for it to be a model for the state. The VTA Wellness Center, also known as the 526 Resiliency Center in San Jose, was named after the shooting on May 26, 2021. A disgruntled rail yard employee who worked at Silicon Valley's transit agency shot and killed 9 of his coworkers before taking his own life. News of the tragic incident struck the nation.
I've seen it myself. We have a lot of tough bus drivers that deal with a lot of stress every day, and it builds.
Pospashek says he's seen people in desperate times of their lives and that the new center has saved lives.
We've seen several hundred employees from VTA over the past year, some in individual counseling, some in group sessions, and some in the ongoing stress management and coping skills classes.
The governor recently signed Senate Bill 1294, which focuses on addressing workplace violence by requiring agencies to work together to develop and deploy wellness centers in transit agencies statewide. The author of the bill says this effort goes back since the day of the shooting.
At the state level, it takes 8 or 9 months at best, and sometimes 2 years, just to get a bill to the governor's desk where the governor can sign it. So we went through a lengthy process all year long. The governor just signed it, so it's done.
They will be documenting what they've done and their best practices as a model.
And we're really humbled by the fact that people across the state are going to be taking a look at them. But I think that it's going to be the creativity and ingenuity of people around the state about how to turn those things into broader solutions for preventing workplace violence.
It's okay to say you don't feel okay, but in our society, we like to say everything's okay all the time.
The center had a soft opening last May and officially opened this year. They partnered with the county DA's office.
Unfortunately, sometimes people don't have the insight into their own condition, right? They think everything's fine, but they're having intrusive thoughts, they're threatening people.
It is a process, and for some, a very long process. They will deal with it, learn to live with it, and every single person at their own pace.
The speakers said they want to change the stigma behind mental health, where individuals may overlook it. Now, the VTA Wellness Center is free to access for the VTA community until June of next year. Until then, authorities hope to get more funding to continue the program. David Lamb, NTD News, California. Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
Arizona right-hander Dre Jameson held San Diego to 2 hits over 7 scoreless innings in his major league debut, leading Arizona to a victory in Phoenix. Ketel Marte, Emmanuel Rivera, and Carson Kelly hit solo homers for the Diamondbacks. The Padres took a second straight loss, reducing their lead over the idle Milwaukee Brewers to 1.5 games in the race for the 3rd National League wildcard berth. San Diego finished with 3 hits in its 10th shutout loss of the season. The Padres have scored 5 runs in their past 4 games. Diamondbacks 4, Padres 0. Aledmys Diaz smacked a tie-breaking 2-run home run in the 7th inning, and Lance McCullers Jr. recorded his second highest regular season strikeout total in more than 4 years as host Houston downed Oakland. McCullers did not factor into the decision, but was excellent nonetheless while fanning 11. He allowed 2 hits, issued 4 walks, and gave up 2 runs over 6 strong innings. Seth Martinez got his first career victory with 1 scoreless inning of relief. Astros 5, A's 2. The Los Angeles Chargers were up 17-7 on the Kansas City Chiefs after scoring a touchdown on their first drive of the second half, with winds of change blowing hard in an AFC divisional power struggle between the 2 titans of the NFL. Instead, the underdog Chargers allowed Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to score 20 second-half points, saving a win from the jaws of defeat. The Chargers made one final push for a touchdown with a minute left in the contest, but at that point, the game was already over. Justin Herbert took 8 hard QB hits and appeared to be playing injured down the stretch in the fourth quarter, distracted by so much pain that at one point, he threw the ball into the dirt instead of running for an open first down. Backup QB Chase Daniel had to come in for Herbert at one point, but Herbert returned and remained in the game for its final minutes. Herbert completed 33 passing attempts for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. Despite losing, Herbert had to carry the entire offense for the Chargers, with the QB racking up twice as many passing attempts with 48 as the Chargers had rushing attempts for their whole squad at 24. Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams caught 8 of his 10 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. Mahomes was unable to put up the same kind of numbers as Herbert, stymied by LA's elite defensive secondary. He finished 24 for 35 on passing attempts for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. The turning point in this game was a goal line interception by Jalen Watson on a pass from Herbert, intended for tight end Gerald Everett. Watson returned the ball the full length of the field, going 99 yards for a Kansas City touchdown. The Chargers will look to bounce back at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 3. Chiefs 27, Chargers 24.
As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for Liang Jiang. Have a wonderful weekend.